Hey, everybody. Thanks for downloading yet another episode of the Black and Gold podcast. This is the Postgame edition. And you know, those postgames are brought to you by Appalachian Commercial Real Estate. They provide professional commercial real estate services in the Boone area. They provide sales, leasing, consulting, and appraisal services to owners and users of commercial real estate. And if you want more information, you can go check out their website, appalachiancre.com. And Charles is going to give you the digits for James Milner's personal cellular device. Charles, go ahead.
828-719-0408.
Just put the number in your phone, folks. Just put it in there. It's going to make the value of your phone go up. I'm telling you right now. All right, so played a football game on Thursday night. Recording this on an early Sunday morning. Just because we're OCD like that. Give us time to marinate. We lose. We play uninspired, juiceless in the first half for sure. We do make it really close there at the end. Do make a couple stands in the second half, and Georgia Southern almost lets it slip away, to be honest with you. But we lose. And right now in the Sun Belt, we are in the basement with Georgia State, who's one of the worst teams in the country. And this is the second time now we have played an opponent that really, really wanted to beat us, made it really, really obvious, and we made them look as good as they've looked all year. We lose 25-23 on a really good crowd, I thought, for a Thursday night. Charles, what do we think about Thursday night in Boone?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good crowd for a Thursday. I think the weather was great, to be honest, for what you expect in November. You couldn't ask for much more. It's awesome that all those people showed up, all 31,876 of them. It's just a shame that the rest of them who actually what we go there for did not. And I think that's probably the most frustrating part about this is I don't know that we played a 60-minute game all year, and that's not going to change next week, more than likely, if we had to put a bet on it. And it's not going to change for the two games that we'll finish our season with, because that's what I'm saying, finish our season with, because we're showing no desire to want to play a 13th game. Something is amiss. To have a 19-3 deficit going into halftime against Georgia Southern, that Georgia Southern team at home, and needing that 3 points to come on like at the end of the half. Like, I thought that was kind of like a big moment in a way, in that had we not scored before halftime, man, the stands would have been uglier than they were late. And I think that was just enough to give everybody a little bit of hope to stick around and hang out, I guess, and watch and see if this team can score more than 30 points. It's against a non-terrible team. You're just not going to get it done in college football if you play 30 minutes or less than that. 23 points is not going to win you a lot of football games in this day and age. And we can't just sit there and dig a hole and think that it's okay and we'll just figure it out in the second half. This is not the team that's built for that. If we haven't had a lead this year, it feels like we're not going to win a game. And this is where we are, 3 in a row. All of our wins are against awful, awful teams who are not good. And this is what we got. Like, this doesn't come down to like a fumble or a turnover. Yeah, you can say that. That certainly didn't help. Another end zone interception, a red zone, ball that shouldn't have been thrown. Nothing up front. This is a team, Georgia Southern, who let people run all over them, and we got 77 yards. So either we choose to have our offensive style be what we're going to be. We're going to roll out the football and we're going to do what we're going to do, regardless of any type of scouting report or anything. I think over the years, there's been lots of good App State offensive lines that didn't have like, blue chip talent or All-Americans or all conference players that just work together. And we just don't have that right now. Injuries are one part, but the other part is there's no want to. It doesn't seem like there's want to. Because if you want to run the football, against a team that gave up 20 plus rushing touchdowns on the year, you figure it out and you just do it. And we just don't want to. It doesn't look like we care to run the football. We don't have a cohesive unit out there right now, and we probably won't through the end of this month.
Yeah. I want to say something up front as we make comments going forward. I know comments that I'll probably end up making that I want to just go ahead and almost like a disclaimer. So when I was and I had a there's a reason I'm saying this. I had a conversation with some people after the game. When I'll never forget this. I was 12 years old and I played on a baseball team, little league team that was not very good. And I was really competitive and I really wanted to win, but my team didn't, right? There was a handful of us that were competitive, but the team as a whole didn't. And I remember the coach after one game basically said, "You guys quit. You guys don't care." And it made me really mad. And it was very obvious to him that I was really, really mad at him. And he wrote me a letter. And he's like, "I'm sorry. I do think you're playing hard and whatever, but the team as a whole does not. Like the sum of the parts kind of deal." And Charles, I know that you're not saying every single person. So I know I'm not. I know that's not what you're saying, but I want to be super
cohesive. Cohesive unit. We don't have a cohesive
unit. So I'll give you an example. I think for guys on that team, I'll use him as an example just because we've had him on the show, and he's a fifth-year Mountaineer, David Larkins. Like, there's no way that I think David Larkins doesn't lay it all out there on the line. And I'm not, so I just want to say when we make general comments, I promise you that I'm not being, and Charles, I know you're not, literally saying every single scholarship player, every single person falls under
every single walk-on, etc.
Yeah, every single walk-on. But as a whole, you have to comment on the collective body language, the collective effort. You do. I think Rashad DeBinion really cares. I think he. Anyway, I'm not going to go down the list and pick out. I think he cares. I'm not going to do that. I don't know this team well enough. Not even close. But I do want to just clarify that if anybody's listening to this, that doesn't fit under that category, that I understand that. However, man, I tell you, we have a we have a problem, and this is something that we touched on last week. And we've said, actually, we mentioned this a little bit last year, but mostly this year, that and I think you're the one that said it. And you're like, number 14 is not walking through that door to save anybody. Like it has to be from within, something new, because what we understand the brand to be has been gone. It's not gone this year. It's been gone, and I think that's hard to accept. It's not fun to think about, but it's been gone, and it's just going to take a new group of players to reverse that, and that sucks because there's nothing we can do as fans. And there are, I feel like the other thing I think a lot of fans are having a hard time coming to grips with, and this is only something recently that I've actually thought about. I think regardless of whether there was a coaching change or not, or whether it was Coach Loggins or not, or somebody else or whatever, I really do feel like we were destined to have a season like this, because just doing the math and just looking at who left, and I've mentioned this before, we're having to replace a certain level of production. Let's say we lose Santana Hopper, who was our best defensive lineman last year, that he goes to Tulane for $250,000. Let's just say, I'm just throwing that out there. I think it was $250,000. He goes to Tulane for $250,000, really good player. We have to replace Santana Hopper in his production, but we don't have $250,000 to spend on one player. So we have to do the best we can to find those bargains. Joshua Donald was a bargain. We got him from NC State. Hope that he could play really, really well, and he did. And that's a bargain that really worked out. someone like Bucky Williams a few years ago in the portal, who's a guard at Austin P, comes over, does a pretty good job for us playing guard. Yeah, I mean, that was like, okay, great. We got somebody that was playing at a lower level, came up, did a pretty good job. Was a pretty good player. You're not going to hit every single replacement. You're not going to nail every single replacement. You're not going to be able to replace Santana Hopper with somebody that was just as good as Santana Hopper. You're not going to be able to do it across the board. Jackson Holyfield and Markel Samuel were our best offensive linemen last year. They were gone. And we're having to replace them with less than what they were earning. I mean, that just kind of goes up being said. Quarterback is the hardest position to replace. And so you're hoping to define another Joey Aguilar story where, hey, man, we'll take a flyer. You look pretty good. Hope you turn out really well. And it's just, you're not going to hit that every time. So on that front, I think that we were lined up already with not a good team, 5-16 last year, and some really core pieces left. And we have to replace like probably 7 or 8 of them. And not enough of them have hit to make a difference. Along with the other things, Charles, that we're facing, coaching volatility, different styles. You get a whole new staff from top to bottom. I don't know if you feel differently. I just feel like we were almost destined, regardless of anything, to be at risk to struggle this year, even worse than last year.
I'm okay with struggling, and I realize that when you're having to hit the portal for certain things, it's because you have absences, and you have absences because of people maybe going to another program or you've missed in recruiting. But generally, when you're like, hey, we need a quarterback, it's like, hey, we need a quarterback to start.
Yeah,
like we need a safety to play like significant minutes or whatever that position might be. It's not just like you don't go to the portal for depth. I don't think. We're not a program, and there's lots of others like us that just don't have the funds to play someone who isn't playing a significant portion of whatever our NIL proceeds may be to go and just in case. That's made for bigger programs for the in cases. That's why like Justin Appson is at Georgia. It's for the in case. And he's not at App State because at App State, he would be playing 32 minutes a game, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still hesitant to resign myself to thinking that our seasons should come down, or our success should come down to not, what we did with 25 people that we recruited out of high school 3 years ago, but more along with what did we get from other schools from 8 to 10 spots.
Yeah.
I realize that's the game, but I'm not giving up that we have to recruit the second wave to be good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And maybe that's just completely idiotic on my part because I'm not letting go and not adapting my fanhood and my expectations to what I would like to see or what we want to see or what we're used to seeing and what we know works. And if that's the case, then that is right. And if I'm behind the times and that's okay. I'm not fond of it. I don't want to say that. I don't want to sit here and say, what we need here is this or that there is a formula, because it's clear that there's a lot of places they haven't figured the formula out. And there's a whole lot fewer schools who have in this new environment, let's call it. But usually there's no staying power in that. And so maybe we all need to do this, but if we got beat 9 different ways, or let's say 5 different ways, we're 4-5, we got beat 5 different ways this year, that would be one thing to me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have not gotten beaten 5 different ways. It almost feels like we've gotten beat the same way every single time. And that is what I have an issue with, is adjustments of any sort at any point, whether it's August, September, or October, is that you look at somebody and you say, on paper, which is not where the game's played, I get that, we should be able to exploit this, that, or the other. And I think these are the best players who could do that. I don't think it's throwing the same stuff against the wall and hoping this time it just fixes itself. I mean, if you throw a bad ball, you throw a bad ball. But man, I don't think I've ever seen the type of red zone turnovers in any season than I have to this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so where did that start? It started in Bank of America Stadium. And it's still going on. And so that's what I'm having a problem with. And I can get we can be, deficient of talent where we need it or where we want it. But at some point, you got to coach it differently. You got to tell them you don't throw that ball under pressure. You got to tell them you got to wrap up. You got to don't let that thing happen. Hey, look, they're running the same play over and over. Maybe we should defend that. But it was pretty clear from the start that Georgia Southern wanted that ball. They wanted to score on us as fast as they possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it look like we didn't show up. And so there's lots of discussion about college football as a whole and what it looks like. And sure, it might make us feel better, about results. But I just can't feel good about results that are the same thing over and over. That is, whether we have the talent to do it or not, sometimes the best thing to do is do the best you can with what you got. And a punt is not a bad play, or a kick is not a bad play. Man, that game would have looked a lot different if we could have gotten 3 points out of that drive instead of throwing another interception at the 1 yard line with a guy draped all over you. That's for me. That's just kind of, it's the same old story. I hate reading about and hate watching every week.
Yeah. You touched on a lot of things there that I was going to mention. I think we're on the same page. I think the reason why I wanted to mention the roster thing and destined to have a down year, not destined to have a down year. That's not what. Okay. That it was going to be tough regardless of whether or not we had a coaching change or not, because of, it's just hard to know. Are you going to be able to replace his production? Shopping, I don't want to, whatever. I'm just going to say it, like yard sale shopping, finding a deal, going to estate sales.
I mean, that's what we have to do. We all
understand
where our financial situation is. I don't think you and I are disagreeing on that.
Right. However, but you are right though. And this is what I want to follow this up with. Basically saying, I don't think Coach Loggins is at fault and the staff at fault for the players on this roster. Like, they went recruited hard, he gets the job in December, and he's getting guys in, Dozier, Cummings, and whatever. Not in December, but he puts the staff together, and they kind of just have what they have, and they're trying to get high school kids in here, and he's clearly recruiting high school. I mean, that's clearly part of his agenda. He's got 5 or 6 offensive linemen from high school on the commit list right now. I mean, that's clearly on the agenda. So that can't fall at his feet. And people that are mad either that he got hired or that there was even a coaching hire just need to you can't lay that at his feet, in my opinion. However, there's clearly not a proper response or a good enough response from the players to what's being coached. Correct. I think that's clear. And that's not to say that not everything is two extremes. Like, he's the worst coach ever or he's the best coach. Not everything is extreme. Sometimes it could be somewhere in the middle where it's just they're not responding to it. Something's not happening. And you can't say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
A bad Georgia Southern team came to our stadium and made us look foolish. Now we made it close at the end there, made a little run. And I'll get onto that in a second.
Because they're bad, and
right.
we because they're bad. Like, that's why we came back, is because they're bad.
That's exactly right. But I'll get back to that in a second. But we made in Coastal, they've really picked it back up. They've looked good since they've beaten us. But we let a winless, terrible Oregon State team get down to the wire against us and whatever. You can't tell me that, not every story. we go to Miami and we lose a 2-point game in Miami, back in 21. It's like, well, at the end of the day, if you look at the measurables and the recruiting and the skill, I mean, this Miami's advantaged at every point. We're losing games where that's not true. You can say, well, our roster's not that good. Their roster's not that good. They're not that good, right? And there's no excuse. There, like, we had 10 days to prepare to play our biggest rival on Thursday night. 10 days. And it looked like we rolled out of bed on and skipped class and like, oh yeah, we got a game. That's what it looked like in the first half, for sure, is what that looked like. And I know that's not true. I know they practiced. I don't, like we just said, like, I know that there are guys on that team that were busting their butt. I know that. But that's not what it looked like, right? And we get judged on the scoreboard, right? That's what coaches get judged on, around the scoreboard. The sideline, and I'm going to go a little Chip Buckwell here. Shout out to Chip. The sidelines and the body language as a whole looked really crappy. In a game where we should be on fire, the other team had it. And I got to say this too. This is my whole point. If we can make a run there at the end and score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and get close to actually come back and win that game, there's no reason you couldn't have done that in the first half. You couldn't have played with that same fire and that same intensity for the first 3 quarters. Because you did it in the fourth quarter. So this wasn't a thing where we just had a superior team just kind of eliminating our strengths and like putting us at bay with bad matchups. That's not what that was. We had the worst run defense in the conference go against us and control the line of scrimmage against us. and we're down to the offensive line. People are going to hear, well, our offensive line's injured. Yep, totally get it. But the point remains, the worst run defense in the conference owned us in the run game. And that game felt so much like Lindenwood, because like Swan throws for 300 350 whatever yards and like all over the field, and then for what, 22 points, like, or 23 or whatever it ended up being. Like, so what? Like it was like, so what? Like that, all those stats, all those yards and on the stat line, who cares? What does it matter? We scored 23 points.
Yeah, it's another game where AJ Swan has to, where Georgia Southern scored 25 points, and for some reason we felt like we had to throw the ball 51 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if that terrible run defense is all of a sudden taking our running game out of it. But here's the larger point. I feel like Coach Loggins, my sense with him, and he's the guy, he's kind of put himself in this position where he's very inaccessible, and that's by design. He's even made comments. This is like the NFL style, like inaccessible. Don't tell anybody anything. It's competitive advantage. This is the road he's chosen to not like let people in. This is his choice, which is whatever. It's his right to do it. He's the guy that in the driver's seat. It's his right to drive the car however he wants to. I think he's probably a really good recruiter, and I bet he's a pretty good talent evaluator, because I think Isaiah Cummings is a good example. Like, he saw something in Isaiah Cummings, and because Isaiah didn't log any real numbers at Kentucky or Louisville, and he comes in here and he was our best offensive player, it turns out, and he got hurt. I think he's probably a really good recruiter. However, I think what I would encourage Coach Logs, where I think his Achilles heel is, I think he's a technocrat. I think I think that is a mistake to try to run Appalachian State like from like a technocratic system. Like, let's just get a bunch of experts in here, and because we know so much, that will permeate. And David Jackson, of all people, I didn't know we were going to bring this up again. David Jackson had mentioned one of Jason Capel's and that staff's weakness was they were bad at coaching kids that weren't blue chippers. Like, they couldn't relate to them. They needed to give that extra oomph to them. Like, they couldn't do it. They were bad at it. They got frustrated with it. Now, that's Capel. All right. Billy Jones is the same way. Billy Jones was, at baseball, for those of you that are, for the uninitiated, Billy Jones, who came in after Chris Pollard after that great College World Series run that ruined the baseball program. Thanks, Charlie Cobb, for hiring him. Same thing. He was used to, recruiting and working with these blue chip, kids at Oklahoma State. He didn't want to get in the mud and try to get these kids up, right? That weren't 5 tool players. Maybe they were 3 tool players, and he wanted to maximize those 3 tools, right? college football, you can't. It's not the NFL. It's not a bunch of professionals who are here, polished and like that. We get it. Like we know how to be a leader in college football and be successful. You have to be somebody that, especially in the mid-major level, you have to be someone that people are going to run through a wall. And I think that probably my assumption is Coach Loggins is liked among the players, and you probably should be like fine. But there's clearly not the tone is not being set from the top. That's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing from an X's and O's and strategy perspective, but we have gotten whipped by rivals at home in an embarrassing fashion. And you can say this last game wasn't being whipped because we almost won. Okay, all right, whatever. I'm not gonna split hairs. We got beat at home after 10 days of prep for a bad Georgia Southern team, where they had more juice than we didn't. Coastal came in from behind and beat us in an embarrassing fashion and loved it. And it looked like we didn't really care. The tone is set at the very, very top. How are we gonna? And in what I think the technocrat label kind of fits in that. I think Coach Loggins says all the right things. Like he said, "Oh yeah, it's a huge rivalry. It's our biggest rival on ESPN on Thursday night. It's great for the brand, great for recruiting." That's all true.
Anybody can say that.
But
anybody should say that.
And on paper, if you read the transcript, those are true things. But is that communicated that he believes that? Like, do the players is it permeating through the roster? Like, we hate these guys. We need to beat their brains in. It's more than football. This is like pride. Pride is online. Is that being communicated through? And the answer is it's not, because of what we saw. Like, we saw the outcome on Thursday, and that's not what's being effectively communicated. We should have won that game on Thursday night. We should have won it. Their team's not better than ours. We're not a good team, but they're not a good team. They shouldn't have beat us like that. We shouldn't have let that happen. And I think that's the biggest area that I can see of improvement for this team. In from the top is like there has to be something else. There's got to be that special sauce to get these guys juiced up and all on the same page and playing on a different level, because they have to. We don't have the blue chippers. We don't have the players we used to be able to have. We just don't. So there's got to be something else. And it can't just be X's and O's and strengths and weaknesses. That is part of it. But it has to be something else. And it can't just be coach speak. It's got to be something else.
I this will be a terrible comparison, but there's got to be something to this. You look at our last 4 men who have served as head coaches for this football program, and you've got 2 alums and you got 2, outsiders. And in both situations, those 2 outsiders played Georgia Southern at home and didn't make the right decisions throughout the week preparing for that game, and we lost. And in both of those situations, we lost to teams that weren't as good as us. But those guys didn't get I'm okay with Drink and Log coming in here and saying, I'm told this is our rival. I don't have anything against Georgia Southern. Like, you can't teach that to me. That has something you have to understand. But like you guys are the ones that are supposed to hate them and elevate your game. And so where is that, is that message out there? Sure, it's possible. We wouldn't know if that happened in the last 10 days or whatever. But it didn't show itself, right? It didn't, no. It didn't look like a message like that was sent. Like, you have to want to go beat these guys. Yeah. Not just because it's another game, because it's another week and it's a faceless, nameless opponent. No, it's not. It is not a nameless, faceless opponent. It is Georgia Southern. And you got to go out there and get it done.
I hear what you're saying. I don't think what you're saying is wrong. I would flip that on its head a little bit and say it actually is his job to hate Georgia Southern. It is his job.
Right, but he's not going to.
Right. But I go back to this, and I think I mentioned this before. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just a conversation that you and I had. But when Justin Kearns got this job, and we sat down and talked to him for the first time and just get to understand like how he ticks. He understood the mission was, we hate Georgia Southern here. And at every tip-off dinner and everything. He knows his record against Georgia Southern. And he knows how well he does because he knows it's important to Mountaineers to beat Georgia Southern. Not just in football, but in basketball. And he took that on himself to say, I know this is important here. And I'll say this, and maybe this is unfair. I really don't mean it to be unfair. I promise I don't. But with Drinkwitz, I feel this way for sure. I don't know if I feel this way about with Loggins, but with Drinkwitz, I felt like, in a way, he felt like he was too good for Appalachian State. I know everybody's always maybe danced around that a little bit. Maybe that's literally not how he felt, but there's part of that in there where when it came down to, oh, hey, coach, this rivalry is great. I felt like Drink almost felt like he would come off like as kind of a noob and kind of I don't know, kind of like lame for him to hype up this thing that he actually didn't believe was like, he could have said, well, I was part of the Iron Bowl when I was a grad assistant. That's nothing compared to this Georgia. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, like, it's like, you don't want to sit at the little table with your cousins, kind of like at Thanksgiving, like, I'm too cool for them. It's almost like when that Love Week thing came around, it was almost like, for whatever reason, he didn't want to say this matters. This is what a huge game this is. Like, it was almost like, why are you allergic to that? All right. And so obviously that was a long time ago. Loggins didn't avoid that this time because he says all the right things in his press conferences. Like, we didn't do this well. We didn't do this well. We have to do this better. Like, that's all correct. Like, he says all this. It's like, yeah, yes, you are correct. But the emotion in the body language it's not coming out. It's not coming out. Say what?
It's hollow. Like, I mean,
it's ringing hollow on the field because it rang hollow on the field on Thursday.
We can go sit there and say everything we're supposed to say and it be the right thing. Yeah. But you have to know that the words behind that message, like, it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And great job to those on social media who bring this up every year. What Scott Satterfield said to his locker room about Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
Like, this is
I don't hate anybody, but I hate them.
Like, that has to come through. Like, I want to beat them too. Like, I hate those guys.
Yeah.
Like, because they are always in the way.
So,
but, and we know Sean Clark knew that. Like, there's no question. There's no question.
Yes.
Whatever the goals are, of this staff or this head coach, it ain't going to get there unless you can get your guys, hyped up to play 60 minutes of football against the team they hate the most. They're supposed to hate the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, I think you're right too in that, like, losing is one thing, but it's kind of like how you lose.
It's yes.
Yeah.
And we talked about that. How the season? What are the expectations of the season in August? Well, what does the record look like? How did we get there? It's no different. It's a chapter of the book.
Yeah.
Like, if we lose, that's fine. If we played our tails off and they were just better, and they scored one more time than we did, okay.
Yeah.
But there's multiple indications here where we've either felt like we could sit and chill and that we have a lead in the second half and it's fine, or we think it's just okay for the other team to get a bit 2 or 3 score lead on us, and then there's plenty of time left. We'll get it done at some point. We'll make it close. We're not judging this season right here by looking at the schedule on appstatesports.com and looking at how we lost. Like, we're not looking at point differentials and saying, man, we almost had it. No, like, what happened in those 60 minutes matters.
Yeah.
Like, how it got there. And we were down 19-0 with a minute and 14 seconds left in the first half at home. We almost got shut out at home to a 3-win team.
Yeah. In November.
Yeah.
3-win team in November. Yeah, it's definitely a I know that our team, like, we have less good players than we did last year. I know that I know we're not as good as we were last year, and we weren't even good last year. But there's just something else that, like, Tim Beck, his team comes up with more juice. They look more prepared. They played with more intensity than we did, and beat us at home. Come from behind, beat us at home. and Clay Helton. I mean, same deal. Like those are dudes that have set the tone for their teams that are not good teams, and they bested us at home. I mean, we should be a touchdown favorite at least at home. At least these guys. I mean, and
we were. It was 6.5 points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, correct. And it's just, yeah. I mean, I know rivalry game, you throw everything out the window. I don't know, man. Like, we looked flat and uninspired, and we have it is not there anymore. Like on the ghosts of Kid Brewer are, I mean, you get a handful of guys like, David Larkins had never lost to Georgia Southern at home until Thursday. So you got a handful of these guys, Ethan Johnson, these guys that are like, that could say a little bit about, players in the past. And anyway, yeah, I mean, it's fate. Like, it has to be brought back, and it can't be brought back. When I say brought back, I don't mean like, hey, we need to like bring in some guys from the teens and come talk. No, I mean, I love these guys. Like, I love John Law, but John Law coming up there and screaming at these guys ain't gonna do nothing. Like, what do they care? We need a new John Law. We need a new Marcus Cox. We need a new Parker Collins. And I agree. I think I said this on the show, but like, I like the idea. Keep recruiting high school and developing and get these guys worked up. Are they going to end up transferring when they're juniors or seniors? Fine. Okay, fine. Keep the pipeline full. Make them tough the way you want to make them. Fill the gaps where you need to fill them in the portal. Like, I understand that, but we also need, and Coach Loggins needs to do a better job of getting these guys to play in a different way. Like, if you look at our last 3 games, Coastal, Old Dominion, and Georgia Southern, all one possession games, all within our grasp. And you could look at it that way. You could spin it that way and say, well, look, we're so close. I don't know, man. I don't know.
We weren't close.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, we were and we weren't. And, we were and we weren't. It's just not used to seeing. This is the worst App State offense I think I have personally ever seen.
I asked myself that question yesterday or the day before, and we're going to find out, right?
Yeah.
We're going to find out. You got to score points.
Mm-hmm.
That has to happen. And we're scoring 26 a game and giving up 27. So, I mean, we're doing enough to keep it tight. But, man, I mean, what we scored 41 against Georgia State, does that matter? Like, let's take out the big ones here. 37 against Coastal Carolina and 34 against Charlotte. Is that it? That's the games we scored 30 in. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Playing who we played. Not a winless Oregon State team. Not Lindenwood. Not a Georgia Southern team who had given up a ridiculous amount of points to pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
It's just and maybe what's making this more frustrating is that Charles Huff can just leave one school, go to another, and be in contention.
And that's what I'm saying too. Like, he clearly's got a little juice. He's clearly knows how to communicate to his guys. And I think that's what Coach Loggins. I think that's a component to his leadership, because he's never been in charge of anything larger than a quarterback's room. Right. I mean, that's the most he's been in charge of. And it's clear, like, again, I'll say it. I think play design this year and stuff like, I think that's been fine. There were some, and I don't want to re-legislate it again or go over it again, but there were some like plays that didn't make sense to me. Like, we needed 8 yards and we had to play like for 4. I don't know, whatever. I don't want to get into that, but like, clearly,
right. Well, we could keep going. Probably just not going to make it better, but coming out of half and just 3 plays, 2 yards. Like, not good. Like, when you're trailing, that's the most important drive of the game.
Yes.
Like, you need to bring that game back to something then.
Yeah, we need to make that game 19-10 right there.
And it's at home. And the same thing happened against Old Dominion. We went 3 plays and out, and we were a drive too late. So like when you're down 2 scores in the second half, you get that ball, like there isn't time to mess around anymore.
Yeah.
And it seems like when we've been in these situations, we've turned it on a little bit too late.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can dig yourself too big of a hole, like we did with Southern Miss, and that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But man, no offensive touchdown against Coastal. That sums up where we've been the last month or so.
No offensive touchdown against Coastal.
No, in the second half.
Sorry. Yeah.
I didn't finish the part. My thought. I knew what I was thinking.
It's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah, you know what I meant. But it's just tough. It's just tough.
Yeah,
it's really tough.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, man. We have these post games to say things that maybe people don't like. It's just what I feel like. We don't
like saying it either, or do we?
Yeah. And I could be totally wrong. I mean, maybe Loggins is in there, and maybe he's the only one on that. I refuse to believe that DJ Smith can't do this, but maybe he's the only one in there besides DJ that's getting. Maybe he is getting them juiced up. Maybe he does have that other thing. I'm just telling you when that ball kicks off, and I'm just telling you the 2 games, Coastal and Georgia Southern, they wanted to beat us more than we beat them, and I think an intangible, something that you can't actually measure. There's not a metric for want to or who wants it more. There's really not. But Coastal looked like they wanted to beat us more than we wanted to beat them, just from body language. And so did Georgia Southern. They looked like they wanted to beat us more than we wanted to beat them. And I think that tone from how that team comes out, that comes from the top down. It comes from the top down. And I think I've already mentioned this, but even if you're not a Cowboys fan, it's a good documentary about the 90s Cowboys and Jimmy John. And they talk about how Jimmy Johnson would go to every like position group, like in drills during practice, and he'd set the tone. He'd be chewing their butts. He'd set the tone. Like you got hot, right? You got up when he set the tone, and then that all went away when he left and got fired. And Barry Switzer kind of like, well, all right, guys, let's do your thing. And I don't think that Coach Loggins is not hands off. He's not like Barry Switzer in that regard. But the tone for how we went head to head with Georgia Southern, we did not match them in intensity, and I wish we did. There were a lot of players that did, and again, I said this at the very beginning. I don't think for a second, and again, I'm not trying to pick on him or just mention him as if he's the only one, but I don't think for a second that David Larkins took a playoff or anything like that. But as a whole, for the team, there's 100 kids on that sideline. It just did not look collectively like we wanted it more than Georgia Southern at home, with pride on the line. And again, Charles, you and I texted about this. People say, well, I mean, how can you expect people, 55 new players who didn't experience this to like care about Georgia Southern? Tim Beck's done it. Tim Beck did it. Tim Beck took 50 new players and made them care. Clay Helton's dealing with the same stuff we're dealing with, the same stuff. Now, J.C. French has been there for a while, but my point remains that he did it. He didn't have a problem doing it. Either you're able to communicate this stuff to your kids and you see it on the field or not. And we let a bad Georgia Southern team beat us, and we're a bad football team. And I hate saying that, but it doesn't get easier, Charles. It does not get easier, unfortunately.
It does not. We got 2 chances. I'm going to say it. We got 2 chances. Although JMU looked a little vulnerable yesterday to Marshall. Marshall was able to run on them a little bit, not when it counted. But, at least we're not Arkansas State. And Chris Jones is coming out of the locker room and asking where all the fans were. And he didn't realize that yesterday was the first day of deer season in Arkansas. and that's the most important thing down there.
Is that true? Was it the first day of deer season?
Yeah, I looked it up. I was like, it has to be deer season. That's why nobody's there. It's too pretty out.
Oh, that is great. Oh man, that's really funny. But I don't know, Charles. What a bummer. But I tell you, I will say this. It will test the mettle of any Mountaineer fan to just keep supporting, keep watching, keep following. Because I mean, this is tough. This is tough. It's really hard. From a fan's, it's not hard in life, but it's hard from a fan perspective. And so, guys, just for the sake of you loving the Mountaineers, just keep supporting the team, and don't. I don't know. I'm not a fan of I'm not going in protest because we're bad. I don't know, man. At the end of the day,
you won't see me do that.
That's bandwagon stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is what it is. Got our hardest game. Well, I think Boise probably, but this conference game for sure hardest game yet coming up. James Madison 3:30 in Harrisonburg, and we'll see what happens, Charles. 1-4 in conference. Need to do something, but is there anything else?
Let's just go out there and ruin their season. Ruin any hope they have left of any bigger things than what they could possibly win.
Oh God, that would be so amazing. That would be so amazing. And so, all right, well, I think that's it. Are we done before this basketball game here at 1:00?
Yeah, it's here in a minute.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for downloading this episode of the Black and Gold Podcast. And until our preview episode later this week, go Apps.